So good day, everyone. Jason here from Infinite Capital. Today we are kicking off our new series, Real Estate Investment Trips. I myself have been able to travel to 6 vacations in 1 year, at the same time acquiring 50 doors in the last year or so. And it's been so inspirational that I love to highlight other folks that have been to and have accomplished just as much or even more than I was able to accomplish. And today I have a fantastic power couple here, Harish and Jasmine, who's joining us from Ottawa. Thank you so much for joining on our inaugural show, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We would love to start off to learn a little bit more about you guys. Maybe you can tell us, the audience, a little bit about you guys and also why real estate as an investment vehicle, because there's so many choices out there.
Well, let's just say we started on long back when we moved to Canada. It was more like, okay, we were living in an apartment and thought about moving to a house, didn't have time or money to go on vacations, didn't have any of those things, and slowly started saving money, bought our first house in, what is it?
2011.
2011.
Wow, that's great.
And once you get into the whole real estate journey, then it starts getting exciting, and then you start thinking about, okay, what next? And then we started looking into getting our next property, which took a while. And I think we got it 5 years ago. And within that 5 years, like, we just refinanced it in June? Yeah, in June, and put some money aside for investments. And we decided, let's take a grand, big vacation.
It's great that you took your time, and congratulations. I mean, 2011 until now, I mean, it looks like an exponential curve, I'm guessing, right? So just slowly getting there and then just like, woo, straight up, right?
Yeah, it was kind of we were very involuntary landlords at one point, because this was something that we weren't very sure we wanted to get into. But when we did, and the more we learned, the more we read about rental properties and how they could help with different aspects of your life. So we were looking to have, a comfortable retirement. We were looking to leave a legacy to our children. We were hoping that we'd be able to help them with buying their own properties when the time came. So we put one foot onto the property ladder. We got our first primary residence in 2011, like Harish said. And then it took us a while to sort of build up the courage to go and take the plunge and buy a rental property. But the first rental property we did ended up being a pretty good investment. 5 years later, we have our refinance on it, like Harish said. And yeah, although I'll be honest, a lot of the money went back into other investments. We decided to carve a little chunk out of it because, just smell the roses while you're doing what you're doing on a daily basis. So we decided to take this trip with our kids, and it was their first big overseas trip. And they were super excited and they wanted bragging rights. So we decided, why not?
For those of you that are not, 15, right? What are bragging rights anyways? Right? Like what is that?
I'd love to know. I'd love to know. But this is when my kids were like, let's do this. This is bragging rights. And I'm like, ooh, that's a big deal for them.
And the great, and from what I have 2 kids myself, my son Julian is turning 8. My daughter is Athena, she's 5. And they like to show off a lot when they go on trips. So
it seems to be a thing.
Maybe it's showing off that I went to a place that's so gorgeous and beautiful. And one of the things that I always like to try to instill is that this is not free. Before you were born, the foundation has been built. And Jasmine, you guys have done such a fantastic job building that foundation. And really, I mean, have you shared with them? Have they ever asked, how did you even afford this? Or is that concept in them?
Well, we kind of mention it to them, but I keep reminding them how it was for me growing up.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Middle East, and for us, it was once in 3 or 4 years, we used to go on vacation to India.
Right. Yeah.
To my grandparents' place, to my uncle's place. That was vacation. There was no like, oh, let's go here, let's go there. So when I got here and we bought the first house, we were like, you know what? we want to travel. We want to travel a lot. She's traveled a lot more than I have, but we just wanted to travel a lot. We did a lot of travel in Canada itself. We try to do at least 1 or 2 trips in a year.
Yeah.
But our aim was we want to travel the world. We want to take our kids everywhere. So that's why this time it was like, okay, you know what? Let's just do it, and we did it from real estate investing.
And I'd love to like maybe you guys talk a little bit more about learn about, and for the audience there, how did you start with your first investment property where you're trying to build a stable future for your children, just a place for them to live, to, hey, you know what? We can actually take more out of these investments and actually bring joy and trips to our family. Like, where'd that shift happen? Going from, because I have the same thing. First, I thought 1 property for my son, 1 property for my daughter, done, right? But then it became, oh, wait, I can do more. So maybe you can share a little bit about when did that shift?
For us, it was like, okay, let's get 1 property. Got that first one. Then we're like, okay, exactly the same. We had our son.
Yeah.
In fact, he celebrated his first birthday in our first home.
Really?
And
Wow.
we were like, okay, now that's 1 property for him. Let's buy 1 rental, and that would be for him. Once we bought that one, we bought a second one because when we had our daughter, 1 for her.
Of course.
And then we're like, wait a minute, we need something for our retirement too. And then that's where the whole shift started. We started focusing on that.
Yeah, it took us some time, but we kind of started going down that path where we were like, okay, we want to help our kids, maybe access properties, just to live in as a primary home when they're older. Because when we bought our property, the first time to live in as a primary residence, it was still fairly affordable, in that the interest rates were low, home prices were not through the stratosphere as they are right now.
Right.
And we were just like, okay, maybe we can swing this, maybe 20 years later, we'll have a property. But then we also were lucky enough that we had a bit of disposable income, which we started saving like crazy. Because once we had our son, we were like, okay, we need to have another property that, might help him in his future. And it was really tiny at first. We were just like, maybe we can access the equity by the time he's 18, so that when he goes to university, we'd be able to help him with some of his tuition costs, right? But then it started, and then the growing of your mindset happens, right? And you just start thinking bigger. And then you were like, okay, first we have a kid, now we have an RESP, now we have a property that might help supplement the RESP.
Right.
Then we were like, oh, we have another kid, we need to get her something.
Same.
And then it kind of grew like, oh, we need a home because maybe it'll help fund our retirement. And then we're like, ooh, look at how this real estate thing is working out for us. We're having fun.
Honestly, when it started, we were very scared. Like the first one, like very scared. Second one, not as much. And then it just kept getting easier and a little more relaxed. Like, oh, okay, yeah, let's go look at properties. Sure.
It's like riding a bike, right, Harish? Like you just start a little bit.
You continue to grow, and then we started sort of branching out into private lending, and then we sort of branched out into multifamily homes.
Right? Like private lending is very scary as well, 100%.
Exactly. And I mean, every time we did this, we were deathly scared. We're like, do we even know what we're doing? And there's only so much you learn from the University of YouTube, but we were learning as we went along, and sure, we made a few mistakes on the way. But overall, it's been a great experience. And we're continuing to grow right now. We're branching out into multifamily. And the idea is always to see not just what it can do for us and for our tenants, but also for our family as a whole, right? The idea was it's not so much that we want to hoard houses and just build all this wealth. You want to be able to stop, smell the roses, and maybe use some of what you've taken from those properties, and maybe give your kids a vacation that they've never been on before and that they're going to remember for the rest of their lives. They're always going to remember, ooh, we took that one vacation to Mauritius with our parents, and here's all the stuff we did.
It's amazing. Yeah.
But also on the way, the fantastic part is you meet a lot of people once you get into this whole, it's like before you have your job, you have your basic friend circle. But once you
Right.
start getting into this whole real estate investing, you start meeting so many people and you start learning so many things. And sometimes you can share some of your knowledge. And we've seen a few of our friends kind of join us in that whole real estate journey. They got their first home, they got their second one, they got their third one. So it's fantastic to see that, that we can not necessarily influence, but I don't know, like play a part in helping others
Be a
move
part
ahead.
of the community, right? And sort of be together and win together. And I think right now I would like to start just to shift the topic a bit. Let's talk about this amazing vacation. Maybe you can describe to the audience, how long was it? Where did you go? Who planned it? I'm assuming it's not you, Harish, that planned it.
Planning was all her,
And
not me.
I guess Jasmine, I can tell she's, she knows what she's doing, right? So, but maybe you can share, like, how long was it?
Well,
What were the
it was a
destinations?
long one, a little bit longer for them, a little shorter for me, but 40, what,
43 days.
43 days?
43 days, guys. 43 days. And
Yes, 43 days.
we heard that right. Okay, great.
Yes. And started with going to India. We were
Yes.
there for about 32 days.
Amazing.
Okay,
And
and
for the
then from
audience, just
there,
for the people to know, sorry, just before, how were you able to take time off work to go that long? Like,
well, a lot of vacations saved up, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess COVID helped in that bit.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So 30 plus in India, amazing. Did you stay in your home, like a hometown with relatives?
So half of that went in Mumbai, which is her hometown, and the other half was in Pune, which is my hometown.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
So got to spend time with family. Our kids bonded with their cousins. And usually, you go on with.
Have they been there before, or is that their first time?
Well, they've been there before, but they were much smaller then.
Right.
I
Yeah.
think each time they went, they were like maybe 6 months old. So this is the first time they've actually met all the extended family when they were older.
Nice.
And
This is
usually it would
remember
be.
now.
Yeah.
Usually it would be like a 2-week vacation, 1 week in Mumbai, 1 week in Pune. This time they actually got to spend a lot more time.
Amazing. That's so amazing. And they at 6 months, I don't know any 6-month-old baby who will remember things. So it's great that they can actually think back and and remember family. So you started your amazing vacation with family in your hometown and the other hometown. Okay, great. And then
we flew out from Mumbai to Mauritius. We were there
is there a
for
direct flight from Mumbai? Is it a direct flight from Mumbai?
Yeah, it's about a 6-hour journey. You just take a flight from Mumbai and go south into the Indian Ocean. And there's this tiny little island just off the coast of Madagascar. And yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like so we were there for 10 days, and when we were booking the hotel, I remember having a conversation with my son. It's like, don't know how a teenage thinks. I've forgotten how I used to think back then. So when I had a conversation that I asked him, what is it that you're looking for in a vacation? And his first answer was all inclusive.
I wonder if it's the food or if it's, just everything is there.
Everything. So that's what we actually booked.
His actual words were, I do not want to be without a plate of food and a drink in my hand.
Oh my goodness. And how old is he?
He's 13.
13? Man wise beyond his years, I guess.
So yeah, I mean, for the kids, I think it's not so much about everything being all inclusive, but they just wanted the whole experience. So we're like, okay, let's see what we can do. So when we started planning, we had to do all the logistics of air flights in, the hotels, resorts, visas, even to visit all the countries and everything. So all that took a bit of planning, but then once we had everything pinned down and settled in, when we went, it was fantastic, but it took a lot to travel that much. Like we had multiple flights, so our itinerary was Ottawa to Paris. We had a day in Paris, then we went to India. And then to
And
Harish's,
Paris, this is sorry, to be clear, Paris was before the Olympics, I'm guessing.
it was actually the day before the opening
Oh
ceremonies.
my
So
goodness, that's been
we missed
busy.
all the crowds by yay much.
Wow.
And yeah, then we went to India, spent some time in Mumbai, spent some
Yeah.
time in Pune, and then we got back to Mumbai, and then we took the flight out to Mauritius. Then we went to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia on leaving there, and then from
What?
Jeddah to
Oh my
Paris
goodness.
again on the
At
day
the
of the closing
closing ceremony, I
ceremony.
remember that. Wow.
Yeah, and then to Montreal and then back to Ottawa. So
Montreal.
it was a big trip, took time and everything. But one of the other things the kids were really keen on, and Harish was really keen on, was the fact that they're like, let's do this in style. So a part of the journey, we actually, went all out and sprung for business class. For the longest leg
Nice.
of the journey, which was like Mauritius, Jeddah to Paris.
Yeah.
And oh, it was
How
so
was that?
worth.
How was that? Business.
So it's a 7-hour flight from Mauritius to Jeddah, and then another 6.5 hours from Jeddah to Paris.
It was absolutely fantastic.
But how was the business class? Like how was that?
Amazing. Amazing.
It was so very cool. Here, let me share a quick picture of
photos?
us.
Let's look at some photos now. It's gonna be
Yeah,
a
I'm just
video
gonna show
podcast showing
you
photos, folks.
the kids all going goo goo.
My kids are
Yeah.
in economy, just like drive me crazy. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and this was us like
What?
chillaxing all the way.
What? So your children have the whole, is it a pod? Is that called a
Yeah,
pod?
they have these little pods to
Pod?
themselves with ridiculously big screens.
Yeah, look at that screen.
And you have these little green cases that you can see on the side.
Yeah,
These come with your own fancy dancy Bose headphones.
ooh,
And
nice.
you had your welcome drink, and you had a lie flat
I'm
bed.
assuming the kids had non-alcoholic, just for the audience out there, non-alcoholic
Yeah.
drinks for the
Well,
children.
the good thing is it was all non-alcoholic because Saudi doesn't serve alcohol on any of
Good.
its flights.
Great.
So it was
Great.
fantastic because we
Yeah.
could eat whatever we wanted, drink whatever we wanted, and we didn't have to worry about whether it was appropriate for the kids.
How happy they are. My kids have the opposite smile when we were in economy class, where we're crammed together all together when
Oh, that's what we had for the rest of the flights.
Hey, but at least you got to. What is that? So is that green? So in your daughter's right hand there, like, is that a?
That's a blanket, except that it was not a blanket. It's pretty much a comforter, like a really nice comforter that had been all squished and vacuum packed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and look at the space there.
It was
like
crazy. It was so good. And you had like a 3-point harness instead
No
of a
way.
regular seatbelt. It was really fun.
Can you lie down? Can you just lie on the side
Yeah,
there?
it was a
Yep.
complete lie flat
Complete.
bed as well. And the service was beyond excellent. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
I'm thinking that, these expenses, folks, we're talking about real estate here, is that, the profits or the yields from, your real estate portfolio really helps fund this, but also you can write this off as an expense if you have active businesses
That's
too.
right. There's a lot of business expenses coming off a lot of these trips.
Keep those receipts because you can just, write off those as you're
Oh my
going.
God, it was really funny because when we were in Mauritius and looking
Yeah.
around all the time, every time we were talking to people, we were like, so how would you go about getting a retirement home here? Or how would you, get a cottage that you could come back to? We went all out trying to get some answers to all these questions because we were so excited about the country and how beautiful it was, and that, it's all about that island life. And we found a bunch of really good information in terms of how the government is so supportive of foreign investment, especially into real estate, and how a lot of that helps locals as well. Just the employment that it brings and the tourism, and hey, you can get an income stream out of it as well,
Amazing.
So it was really, really eye-opening trying to find out how you might be able to actually buy a villa or a cottage in Mauritius and maybe rent it out to tourists, or just have they have something called as a hotel reservation scheme or something like that.
Okay,
And
yeah.
that's basically where you can actually purchase a villa or
Even a room.
a room or
Mhm.
an apartment within the hotel complex. And
Okay.
as owners, you can stay there for 45 days using all the amenities of the hotel as well as food and everything for 45 days in a year. And the
Yeah.
rest of the town, the hotel takes care of it, does all the repairs and maintenance, rents it out to tourists when they book those apartments.
And they give you a certain
You get a
percentage of it.
percentage of the rent as well.
Wow. So sort of like a property management fee type of thing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you have any photos of Mauritius? I mean, this is a beautiful business class photo.
Let me pull up another one.
Yeah. And
What is interesting was, we went there, 7 years ago, the last time? And that time it was just like, okay, enjoy the vacation. This time, all we did was, like, apart from enjoying ourselves, every time we saw a property, your mindset changes, right? Everything looks like a opportunity to invest.
opportunity. I like that. Everything you look at is an opportunity now.
Yep.
Oh, come on. That's a photoshopped, right?
No, that's
That's photoshopped, right? No
getting
way.
very,
Really.
very happy.
Hey, Harish, I like that shirt and your son. Is that matching? Is that I'm seeing
Yep.
They did. They bought matching Hawaiian shirts so they could wear them on the beach. It
Oh
was
my goodness.
Well, he's of that age that we share this, we can get the same stuff.
I think and Jasmine, you and your daughter are delightful with all your big smiles. And having that sort of being there and then wanting to come back and then having something there to continue to give you cash flow to motivate you to come back. That's amazing. And you talk about villas and rooms. Like, I mean, where is this beach? I've never been to Mauritius, but like, are there villas and room close to this beach here that we're seeing? Or
Yeah, so a lot of the resorts actually have
oh my goodness, that's not real, right? That's
that is
AI
so
generated, right?
100% real.
That looks like AI generated images these days. We talk
I
about
know. No, I mean,
This is not one of them.
this is a
no
postcard. This is a picture postcard perfect island. Like I can't say
way.
enough good stuff about it.
But I can't even fathom that that's real. Like there's a tree. Look at the design. Oh my god.
It was fantastic. And yeah, so sorry. I think we were gonna we were at these places and I actually lost my train of thought there.
Well, I
Sorry.
mean, I was asking
You know,
like
you know what turned out really interesting out of this trip was, as soon as we got back, the first thing my son was saying, like, okay, so when can I buy my first property and start renting it out?
yeah, it's just other fun vacations or your first property in somewhere like Mauritius or someplace, right? So you can go
I think
back.
he's already in the mindset that he wants to wherever, if he's going to university somewhere out of Ottawa, he wants to get a property, stay in it, and rent out the rooms.
Oh my god, house hacking already in
Yeah.
Ottawa? My gosh. And describe what this is. I know not all of our audience actually know what this is. I've done it once. Maybe what's happening here?
So this is called the underwater sea walk. Basically, we're about 3.5 or 4 meters under the water, and we're walking on the floor.
No
And
way.
these I don't know what you call those, but they basically it's a vacuum
like a helmet or something, right? Like
yeah.
Yeah, it's an oxygen helmet, really, so you can breathe freely inside it. But
What are
you
you
can
holding
walk
there?
around and you have all these tropical fishes all around you, and you have these.
You have the wet bread, and all you're feeding the fishes. They come all around you. Like this is one of the pictures.
You bring the food. You bring the food down with you, right?
That's
and
right.
then you feed the fish. And look at the water. Like, look how is it that clear? I mean, that's insane.
It is.
Yeah,
It really is.
Oh my goodness. And what are you holding? What are your kids holding there? What is that?
That's actually a seashell.
No,
It's a really
what?
huge seashell. It was really
huge.
cute because we're really close to the coral reef over there.
Yeah.
So you get to see a lot of wildlife as it goes by, or sea life, or whatever you want to call it. And we actually saw a couple of things. We even took a submarine down into the ocean. We went down 30 meters in a submarine.
Yeah.
And we saw like amazing stuff there. We saw like sea turtles. We saw a shipwreck.
Oh my
It
God.
was unbelievable.
And
Also
the
very,
water was just as clear as
yeah,
this.
also
Was
very
it?
claustrophobic inside
Oh,
a
okay.
submarine.
Sure. Yeah.
But very, very much fun. And it was wonderful. You could see the corals, you could see the fishes, you could see crabs, you could see sea turtles. Like it was literally like you were inside Pixar's Finding Nemo and you
I
could
love that analogy.
literally relate to everything there.
But and then this picture, we were
Yeah.
actually underwater for about 15 minutes, 15 or 20 minutes.
That long?
Yeah.
Holy.
I had to hold my daughter's helmet because it's very heavy. I actually had to hold it up for her.
I can see you working out back there, Harish. You're
Yes, right.
these submarine or these helmet experiences, one of the things that motivates me is the smile and joy in my children's faces, right? I can't see your son's face, I can see your daughter's face, and look how happy she is. And
Oh,
maybe,
she was
yeah,
absolutely thrilled.
I I always
We
start
had a
young.
whole bunch of other
Yeah.
we had a whole bunch of other experiences. We went
Got more?
paragliding.
What is this?
This is actually the restaurant at the resort.
One of the
one
restaurants.
of the resort
Okay, so
restaurants,
there's
and this
multiple
was
amazing viewed restaurants. Okay. Oh my.
yeah. And we were able to go paragliding. We were
Parasailing.
parasailing. Sorry, not
Yeah,
paragliding.
I don't even know the difference, Harish, so myself. So
We were able to go parasailing. We actually saw, for the first time in our lives, we actually saw squid being fished.
no, really?
Able to see when the fishermen would hold
Gigantic one.
gigantic
How big?
squid.
Yeah, I was gonna ask how big was these squids? Like, are
Oh,
they?
at least 3 feet,
Huge.
maybe 3 feet, 4 feet.
Yeah,
Huge.
it was
My
huge,
goodness.
and it squirted the boat and the fishermen with ink because
Oh
it
my
didn't like
gosh.
being caught.
Yeah, I would like getting caught as well, but
Yeah, and then
amazing.
we took a motorboat out onto the ocean, and we were on the ocean the whole day. There were
Whole
like,
day on the ocean.
yeah, essentially, it was fantastic.
And I can see the food. Like my daughter is a very picky eater, but I can see her daughter eating some form of pizza, which I can't see from here, but she looks
She
pretty
was
happy.
pizza probably every second day there.
Hey, it's all inclusive, Harish, right? That's what your son wanted, right?
Yeah.
One of the other really nice experiences we had
Yeah.
was one of the restaurants actually had a teppanyaki night, and they
Teppanyaki,
actually
where they cook in front of you? They do that?
yeah, they do it, but you can help the chef
Oh,
cook at the same time. So here we were in all our teppanyaki,
Yeah.
overalls and aprons and everything, and it was fantastic just doing that with the kids.
That and can kids participate in something like that?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Just in the interest of time, thank you. We can talk for hours, but I
Yeah.
want to just wrap this up for a couple of minutes. I think the joy in your children's faces it tells the story right there. And you talked about finding real estate. So in this amazing experience, so what did you find out about the rooms and villas? Are they affordable? I mean, are they in Mauritius? Are they in what currency are they in? USD, right?
They're Mauritian rupees, but
Yeah.
as a foreign investor, I believe some of the information that we were provided mentioned that depending on which scheme you actually buy your property under, you
Yeah.
would need a minimum investment, I think, of 200 USD,
Okay.
or if you were doing it 200,000 USD.
Hey,
Those are important numbers.
Not
yeah,
K
couple
there.
digits. Okay.
Bad. Yeah, so 200K USD. And if you bought it as a group, like a
Okay.
couple of people together, I think it had to be a minimum investment of about 500K USD.
Sure. Yeah.
Which is very reasonable for the part of town that we were looking at. And this would have been a beachfront,
This is
fantastic.
grade
piece of
A, tier
resort.
one, area.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And so you have that 500K in a JV or 200K in your own. And is that like a deposit or what is that? Is that
No, so the property could be anything higher than that amount. So
Oh, I
like that's
see.
the minimum you'd need to
Oh,
invest.
okay, got you.
And then, the sky's the limit, literally.
And did you get any numbers around, say, property management fees? Like, is there a percentage? Like how does that work?
Yeah, so assuming that you buy it under the resort scheme,
Yeah.
say you bought a tiny little villa, like a 2-bedroom villa within the resort, and then you
Yeah.
were sort of renting that out later. To my understanding, once the resort rents it out, like I said, you can have 45 days as the owner to use the resort and use the property.
Amazing.
But the rest of the time they rent it out, I think you get somewhere around 5 to 15% of the rental income annually as a portion. And the rest obviously stays with the resort. So
Okay.
you get a 10 to 15% income every year.
Yep.
And as well, you basically get the appreciation or whatever because you're on title. And you know, you're the owner of the property. So the property management is kind of bundled into what you get annually from the resort.
And the most beautiful part of that, no
But-
rent control.
Oh my, so for viewers out there or the audience out there, I could say viewers, but you know, we're on a podcast. So audience out there, no rent control, 15% doesn't sound like much when we talk about revenue these days, but what is Jasmine and Harish doing? Nothing. They hold their property, hands off, passive 15%. I would take passive any percent, 1% if I wanted to.
And we got 45 days of stay, free stay.
Oh,
there.
yes. And you also get 45 days of stay and the appreciation on title. My gosh. Man, that's unbelievable. And no rent control. That means seasonality during the holidays. You can spike it to whatever rate you want.
Absolutely.
You know, off season to keep occupancy, you can bring it down, but 45 days.
And the percentages changes depending on which resort you're going with. Like,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
this is just some of the ones we found out about.
That's amazing. Any other real estate insights from Mauritius to share with the audience today?
Well, there's other things. So Mauritius is very specific when it comes to foreign ownership in that there are some very designated areas or schemes in which you can purchase. And I
Okay.
believe that there has to be a minimum USD amount, as we mentioned, that you
Yep.
do have to invest. However, there are some restrictions in terms of if you buy things outside those zones,
Mhm.
then unfortunately you can't rent out the property and you have to stay there full time. But the
Right.
good thing is that there is permanent residency that's provided to you
Nice.
if you invest in real estate in Mauritius. So essentially, if you come in as a foreign investor, you buy a property outside any of these specified zones, you can live there and get a PR in the bargain.
So let me get this straight. I will have to suffer and live in Mauritius full time if I invest in real estate. You know how we talk about all these different countries and locations where it's so hard to get permanent residence, a PR. And you're saying right now, if I invest in real estate, it is bundled with a PR.
Essentially.
Yep.
I know it's a hard bargain, but what do you do, you know?
Oh yeah, you know those beach views and those lovely activities with your children. That must be tough to live through, but you know,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's such amazing times. And, you know, I wanted to just thank you both for your time today. It's such an amazing, inspirational journey to first support the trip itself, but then learning more about Mauritius. And hey, I'm going to rent from your son one day. Like, please, I know there's no rent control, but your son, please give me some leniency when I want to rent there, when he has his property there. Hope to stay there as well. But
Sure thing, I'll have that conversation with him.
He's looking to retire there and he's
Oh
only
my-
13, so he's got some long-term plans for that country, I tell you.
and that 13-year-old boy is going to be certainly someone I would love to look up to when he gets up there. One last question here. Where's your next destination? Now that you have that sort of taste of what's possible with real estate investing and also building on it. Now, where's next? Where do you think you're going to go next?
I think we're probably going to explore the northern parts of Europe to a great extent. We're thinking Scandinavia for most part.
Yes.
But if that doesn't happen, then we have a shot at Scotland and Ireland. I'm a big history buff, so for me, it's really interesting to go there and look at all the castles. That's
Right.
sort of the bucket list things for
I
me.
love that too. Castles are great.
And one of the really beautiful things that I do want to go have a look at sometime is the Alhambra in Spain.
Spain,
So,
yeah.
that's on the books, and we're all at home very big fans of Lord of the Rings.
Rings,
So New
of
Zealand's
course.
on the horizon at some point too.
New Zealand and all those, beautiful landscapes. Oh my gosh. Oh. Of all those locations, I've only traveled to Ireland, right? And visited, the the Guinness factory, right? That's all I remember from my college days. That's all I remember. But I've been there. That's the only thing I remember. But I need to go back when, I'm more mature and, as savvy real estate investors like you guys. And hey, maybe you'll find some opportunity in New Zealand and other places too. So
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Our goal is to hopefully visit one country every year with the kids as best possible.
amazing.
I mean, even if it's just hopping across the pond to good old Blighty, go to the UK, go to France, whatever it is. But that's the goal. And now that we've seen what we can achieve with real estate investing, we're going to keep at it and hopefully do that.
Why not make it 2 countries a year and 3 countries a year?
Oh, well, the
Yeah.
sky's the limit, eh?
Of course,
Why
right?
not?
Thank you so much. You've really opened the eyes for me and also inspired so many people in our audience. I mean, look at these destinations. You're talking about a country a year. That is unfathomable for a lot of people, but you guys have done it. So I want to thank you both for your time today. It's amazing. I love those photos. Kids smiling is my motivation. I definitely see you guys have achieved that with your children. So kudos to you guys too. And no, thank you
for
so
having
much
us.
for your time.
Thanks a bunch, Jason. This was fantastic.
Thanks, guys. Amazing.